James had always pictured himself retiring somewhere peaceful, where he could wake up to birds singing and the water quietly lapping at a dock. After years of hard work, he finally bought a stunning lakeside property. The best part? The house came with full deeded ownership of a large portion of the lake itself, a detail most outsiders wouldn't even know unless they had read the legal documents. Before we start the video, please let us know. If you enjoy this story, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and leave your thoughts in the comments below. Your support keeps us going. Let's start. The first morning, James brewed coffee, stepped outside onto his deck, and watched the sunrise glitter over the water. His boat, a modest fishing vessel he had restored with his own hands, sat proudly at the dock. To him, this lake wasn't just water. It was his sanctuary, his reward, and his future. Barely a week into his new life, James noticed something odd. A group of people in polos and clipboards marched down the path toward his property. At the front was a stern woman named Linda, the self-appointed head of the neighborhood HOA. Without introducing herself, she pointed at James's boat and said, "That has to go. Our HOA doesn't allow private boats on the lake." James was caught off guard. "Your HOA?" he repeated slowly, raising an eyebrow. "This is my property, my dock. My boat." But Linda smirked, as though she was talking to a child, and waved a folder in his face. "The lake is community property. You'll need to comply." Instead of arguing further, James invited them to sit at the picnic table by his dock. He calmly explained that he had reviewed the legal deed before buying. Not only did he own the dock and shoreline, but his property included water rights, meaning the HOA had no control over this section of the lake. The board members chuckled and dismissed his words. One even scoffed, "Do you really think a single homeowner can own a lake? That's ridiculous." James sat back, his calm demeanor masking the spark of irritation. "I don't think," he replied firmly. "I know. And I have the documents to prove it." Linda leaned forward, her voice dripping with arrogance. "If you don't remove that boat within 48 hours, we'll fine you $500 a day until you do. We don't tolerate rule breakers in our community." The other members nodded in agreement, pulling out their clipboards as though they were already writing tickets. James resisted the urge to laugh. He knew their threats meant nothing, but their confidence was almost entertaining. "Fine me?" he asked. "On my own lake?" He stood up, towering over them now. "You're welcome to try." Word spread quickly through the neighborhood. Some neighbors quietly stopped by James's dock, curious about the confrontation. One elderly man confided, "Son, they've been running this place like tyrants for years. People are too scared to fight back. But if what you say is true, that you own part of the lake, then you might be the one to finally stand up to them." James listened carefully. He wasn't one to seek conflict, but he realized this wasn't just about a boat. The HOA had been overstepping for years, bullying homeowners into paying for things they had no right to control. 2 days later, a formal-looking envelope appeared in James's mailbox. Inside was an official violation from the HOA stating his boat was illegal and demanding immediate removal. The letter threatened escalating fines, legal action, and even property liens. James chuckled as he folded the paper neatly and slipped it into a file labeled evidence. He had been in business long enough to know the power of keeping records. "If they want to fight," he muttered, "they picked the wrong guy." Things escalated when James noticed a group of HOA members setting up near his dock with fishing gear. They called themselves the HOA Lake Club, a private group that charged neighborhood residents yearly fees to fish. When James walked down, one of them barked, "This is our spot. Move your boat. It's blocking our access." James's jaw tightened. It was becoming clear this wasn't about his boat at all. The HOA had been profiting off access to the lake, treating it like their personal cash cow. His boat wasn't a violation, it was an obstacle to their business. That night, James sat at his kitchen table, legal documents spread out before him. He traced the property lines, the water rights, the historical deeds that clearly spelled out ownership. There was no ambiguity. He controlled not just the dock, but a large section of the lake itself. He looked out at the water shimmering under the moonlight and made a decision. The HOA wanted to challenge him, fine him, intimidate him, but soon he would show them who really had the authority here, and their so-called fishing club would regret ever crossing him. A few mornings later, James woke to the sound of loud voices near his dock. When he stepped outside, he found HOA members hammering signs into the ground. HOA property, authorized access only. One even tried to tie a rope across part of the lake as though they were marking it off. James couldn't help but shake his head at the sight. "They really think bluster replaces ownership," he muttered. He walked down calmly, snapped pictures of everything, and said, "You're trespassing, and every sign you put up is evidence against you." Later that week, the HOA made their boldest move yet. They called the county sheriff. James spotted the patrol car pulling up and greeted the deputy with a smile. "Morning, officer. What's the issue?" Linda jumped in, waving papers. "This man refuses to comply with HOA rules. He's illegally occupying the lake." The deputy scanned the documents, then turned to James. "Do you have your deed, sir?" James calmly handed him a folder with highlighted sections of the property lines and water rights. Within minutes, the deputy handed the papers back and said, "Looks like the lake's his. I suggest you all leave before you get cited for harassment." The confrontation sparked division in the community. Some neighbors quietly applauded James's courage, leaving notes like, "Thank you for standing up to them." Others, loyal to the HOA, accused him of being selfish for not sharing the lake. James understood this wasn't just about property anymore. It was about power. The HOA had grown used to unquestioned authority, and his resistance threatened their entire operation. One evening, James dug deeper. While reviewing old property records at the county clerk's office, he stumbled upon a startling discovery. The HOA had been charging residents yearly fishing fees for nearly a decade, pocketing thousands of dollars, despite having no legal right to the lake at all. Worse, they had written these fees into their bylaws, making it seem mandatory. James realized the HOA wasn't just arrogant. They were running a fraudulent business off property they didn't own. And now he had the proof, armed with documents. James sent the HOA a formal notice. Cease all activities on his portion of the lake immediately. Remove all signage and refund residents for the fishing fees they had illegally collected, or face a lawsuit. Linda stormed to his doorstep the next day, fuming. "You can't do this!" she hissed. "Oh, I can," James replied coolly, holding up the deed. "And if you keep pushing, you'll lose more than your fishing club. You'll lose your entire HOA charter." The final showdown came on a sunny Saturday morning. The HOA Lake Club gathered at James's dock, rods in hand, laughing as though nothing had changed. But when they arrived, they found James waiting, alongside a county marshal holding an eviction order. "This area," the marshal declared, "is private property. Any attempt to fish here without the owner's permission is trespassing." One by one, the members packed up their gear, their protests drowned out by the sound of James's boat engine roaring to life. The dock, once crowded by HOA's control, now belonged solely to him again. Weeks later, the HOA grudgingly backed down. The signs were gone, the fishing club dissolved, and rumors spread that Linda herself might face legal trouble for misusing HOA funds. As James sat on his boat one quiet evening, the lake calm and glassy beneath the fading sun, he felt a wave of satisfaction. He hadn't just defended his rights, he had exposed years of corruption and given his neighbors hope that they didn't have to live under fear. Looking across the water, he smiled. "They demanded I move my boat," he whispered. "But instead, I moved them out of my lake."